Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Justice Lawrence Mugambi today found the Acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Gilbert Masengeli, guilty for contempt of court. This is after the Acting Inspector General was summoned to appear before the court to explain the whereabouts of some three people who were abducted during Gen Z's protest. The three people are Jamie Longton, his brother Aslam Longton, and activist Bob Njagi. Because these three Kenyans were abducted during Gen Z's protest by people believed or suspected to be our own policemen who are supposed to protect us. So Mr. Gilbert was summoned to come and shed light on their abouts because we don't know whether they are dead or alive. Now, Mr. Masengeli blatantly refused and snubbed the court summons for a period of 7 times. And today, Justice Lawrence Mugambi found him guilty and sentenced him to serve a 6-month jail term. And Mr. Masengeli is supposed to present himself to the Commissioner General of Prisons to start serving his terms. If he fails to avail himself before the Commissioner General of the prisons, then the burden of implementing this order has been transferred and rests solely on the CS Interior, Mr. Abraham Kithure Kindiki. But Justice Lawrence Mugambi was saying that this order is given as a coercion order, not a punitive order. In that regard, it was explained that Mr. Masengeli still has a period of 7 days to redeem himself. If he appears before the court of law within those 7 days, then he will not be jailed. But after 7 days, if he fails to appear before the courts, then automatically the ruling and the verdict will take effect. So as it is, he was given a reprieve for 7 days to see if he can comply and come to the court. That is why it is called coercive order, not a punitive order. Punitive is one that you've been found guilty and therefore you're going to serve automatically. But this one was supposed to cajole or to coerce him to appear before the court so that he can explain what is happening. This kind of ruling has never happened before. It is the first time, and I think it will go down in the annals of history as one of its kind. And people are waiting to see how Masengeli is going to go about the sentence or the verdict. And questions are being asked. Do you believe Masengeli can present himself before the Commissioner General of Prisons? And even if he presents himself, do you think the Commissioner General can jail him? It is a very precarious, moment for them, because both of them are officers. One is the head of the prisons department, another is the head of the police. But this verdict seems to, you may think it is funny, but it really reveals the sad state of affairs. From primary level, our children, our pupils are being taught that the role of the police is to maintain law and order. For you to maintain law and order, it begins by obeying orders. That's why they have to maintain law and order. Now, if they themselves are supposed to maintain law and order, yet their boss disregards and disobeys orders from the court, it also puts Abraham Kithure Kindiki in a very difficult situation, because he's now being ordered to arrest the person they are working with in the same ministry, because Kithure Kindiki is the Interior Minister, and therefore they work very closely with the Inspector General. Now he's being ordered to ensure that the Inspector General is apprehended. Come to think of it, whenever someone fails to obey court orders, he or she is arrested by the police. But now here we have the head of the police who has disobeyed the court order. So who will arrest him? Because you cannot arrest your boss when he's still in office. There is no any other police officer, that's what I'm thinking, that can arrest their boss, the Inspector General, because he's the senior most member and ranking officer in the police department. So how can it be implemented? Let's say that he fails to appear before the Commissioner General of prisons, and therefore Kithure Kindiki is supposed to implement this. How is he going to do it? Is he going to order? Because all the orders are always being given by the Inspector General, trickling down. So in this sense, who is going to do it? That's why I'm telling you that it is really putting us in a very, very awkward situation. Yet, these are the reasons why sometimes our constitution needs to be relooked at. I know it is only the president thinks he cannot be convicted, let me put it that way, when he's still in office. You can only do that, but he's enjoying some immunity when he's still in office. You know, this kind of verdict really raised a lot of eyebrows because the acting inspector general, is only but following the footsteps of his masters. President William Ruto himself, a while ago, or some months ago, declared that he was not going to obey court verdicts. He claimed that some people were in cahoots with the unscrupulous, and corrupt judges to sabotage his development agendas. When people went to court to block NHIF, the new NHIF program to be implemented, and they were also complaining about the new housing levy. So when William Ruto realized that some people were going to court, he really warned that he was not going to allow this to happen. In fact, at one point he told us that he was given a sword to deal with those people who want to sabotage his agenda. So when the Inspector General is doing what his boss had already indicated, then we can always add 1 or 2, 3 and understand. Because if William Ruto had wanted the Inspector General to go to the courts, he would have done that long time ago. But that has been the nature of our nation. William Ruto himself took oath of office and promised to guard and protect our constitution. But you see what has been happening. It is like we're mutilating our constitution, we disobey court orders. This kind of acts will turn our country into anarchy. Why? When we realize that at the highest office, people don't obey court orders, then why should you be compelled to obey court orders? If the president is saying, I will not obey, the inspector general says, I will not come even if you summon me, then why should I obey those court orders? Yes, it only means that this is an animal farm, that some animals are more equal than others. Some are being compelled to obey court orders and obey the law. Others are above the law. They cannot obey court orders. That is the situation we leave ourselves into. Now, this has really exposed William Samoei Ruto. Currently, as this verdict was being given, he's in Germany looking for investors, presenting himself as a president who was elected by the majority of votes. Yet, back at home, his IG is being convicted for contempt of court. William Ruto is the commander-in-chief of all the armed forces, and therefore everything that is happening must also touch on him. What do you think will happen ultimately? How do you think this, if he fails to present himself before the Commissioner General and the Justice Mugambi was saying that after 7 days, this verdict will be effective? As it is been given a reprieve for 7 days. What do you think is going to happen? It also means that there shall never be justice for the victims of police brutality, because the force that is supposed to protect us is the one that is suspected to be abducting us. Abductions happened in broad daylight. Some were killed, others were maimed, others are gone. We don't know their whereabouts. Now, if you see this happening and the Inspector General fails to appear before a court of justice, then it means that there shall never be justice, because they are above the law. No one can arrest them. It also goes a long way in proving that they are part and parcel of the abductors. Why should the Inspector General fear going to appear before a court of justice? And of course, it is contemptuous, because they just treat contemptuously our courts. They don't feel that the courts can do them anything. It is what I always call utadu. It is a very sad state, but very interesting. We want to see how things are going to transpire.